Here it comes.
Hello, and welcome everyone to the first ever Spell Break Gaming Community Tournament. Today we're going to be throwing down in the TDM with crazy chaos and mayhem that y'all have never seen before. Sponsored by Sector X Gaming and Medify. More info on those sponsors later. You guys get excited. We're going to get into some awesome Spell Break and show you guys some players that are on another level. But before we get into that, let me introduce my co-host. To my right, I believe, is going to be my boy, the one and only Davon Edge, coming on through to help me cast some of this incredible gameplay. Davon, how you feeling today, my boy?
I'm feeling fantastic, man. I'm super excited to be here. I see a lot of cool people in chat already. They're getting me pumped up to see all this action. I want to talk about how cool it is that Medify came out, Sector X Gaming, excuse me, and they're putting together, a prize pool for us, something to compete towards. You know what I mean? I also said real quick, when I first started, that was my experience. Was the community helped me, through people coaching me on one-on-ones, to where I felt very connected with this community. And so it's super cool to have something like this going down today. I'm glad to be here.
Absolutely. And we are happy to have you for sure, Dav. Thanks for joining us. Also, that's a really great point. We're going to have a lot of Medify coaches available in this tournament. We got some students, so you guys can keep a good close eye on those players that are playing the game at the highest level and might be available for you guys to pull up a coach. So we're going to go ahead and jump into our next caster, someone that's I'm really excited to see come to the casting bench with me, because he's really got a lot of potential. He's got a lot of heart, and he's really got a lot of desire to be here. So I'm going to go ahead and toss it over to our boy, the one and only LD Gold. How are you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing very, very well. How is everybody getting on? Timmy, thank you so much. What an incredible intro. I'm blessed and honored. But yeah, super excited to be here. Looking at all of the teams, we've got a great lineup today. Yeah, I just can't wait to get into games. Absolute pleasure to be on the bench with you two boys as well. This is going to be so much fun. I hope everybody in chat is as excited as I am. But yeah, and a huge shout out again to Medify and oh my gosh, excuse me, I'm stuttering my words. And Sector X Gaming, absolute massive shout out to them. Super, super awesome stuff.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I do see a lot of the passion and the hype coming through in the chat already. Everybody's getting super excited. And that's one thing that's special about this community and Spellbreak is we all are so passionate about not only just being friends together, a family where we can play together and push each other to our limits, but just for the potential of what we see in this game and where we can see it going in terms of esports, in the arena of esports, But before we get into all the action, we get excited about Spellbreak and the esports and stuff. We do need to take a second to break down exactly how this tournament's going to work. So first of all, like I said, it is going to be a team deathmatch tournament. That means all of these matches are going to be played in custom matches, and we're going to be doing that to the best out of 3 eliminations. So every set moving up to the grand finals will be the best out of 3, and we're going to be able to go up to the best out of 5 for that grand final match to really give those teams a chance to work it out and figure out those strategies a bit. Going on in, we're going to see some a lot of opportunities for the teams for bans and stuff in the future with map choices and stuff like that. And LD Gold, I'm interested. Do you think there's any specific maps that are going to be kind of standing out in a way that we're going to see it picked often, or any maps that people are really going to stand away from and try to avoid in this team deathmatch arena?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, straight off the bat, Banehelm is kind of a map that I look at as a bit iffy for a lot of players. There's a lot of just drop spots where you can just be down and out, very wide and open map as well, which gives a lot of opportunities for 1v1 fights. So teams that are maybe looking to pick off and do their 1v1s as opposed to team pushing might like Banehelm. But then we're also looking at teams looking to stay together. That Banehelm might be just a little bit too big to keep them teams. But yeah, I know Halcyon's another very popular map between the community. Nice lines of sight, good stuff. But yeah, those are definitely 2 of the maps. I think Halcyon will be highly picked, and I can see Banehelm maybe being on the back burner.
Absolutely agree. And I think Halcyon, I think some of these maps are going to be chosen by different types of players for different reasons as well. I think Halcyon is one of those maps that have a lot of areas that are not necessarily super open to line of sight for like frost or lightning. So you really either have to get that elevation to make that line of sight happen for yourself, or play classes and strategies that are more up close and personal. Do you see any of those strategies or any of those classes really coming to the front line and getting the spotlight shown on them a bit in this team deathmatch? Dav, do you think anything's going to really step out? Or we're going to see people sniping constantly, or we're going to see map choices that allow for that maybe toxicologist to come in and erase somebody with a slap to the face?
So I think you definitely touched on something there. The map's gonna predict the gauntlet choice pretty heavy. I know we have a lot of players here that like Hemwood. So that's that close quarter, small, you can see everything kind of action. I should reign supreme. I do think we're going to see a lot of fire because at the moment, fire does a lot of damage and it has a really good spread. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see the mix-ups that are brought to the table today, you know?
For sure. And personally, as someone who has been able to host a lot of just community, I like, you guys know, I like to host a lot of stack solos. You guys, if you're on this channel, you probably know about stack solos and stack lobbies. And one opportunity that I get from doing that kind of stuff with the community is I really get to see the type of meta that kind of develops, the kind of classes that are really popular and played more often than not, and the strategies that are used to secure dubs. And throughout the battle royale lobbies, I've seen a lot of Tempests, and I think it's partly because of the movement and mobility offered from that class. And I think that it's going to be really interesting to see if that Tempest meta carries on even further into TDM, or if we're going to see a completely shift in the change. And that's one thing I want you guys in the chat to be excited about, because these players you might know, you may have seen them in previous tournaments or previous events, but you got to realize a lot of these players have been playing in private scrimmages, in custom lobbies, in team deathmatch, and we're really going to see them showing off strategies that we might not have seen in your every average day public lobbies. But I'm getting word, it sounds like we are about to jump into some action shortly. The queues are going on. I'm really excited. Before we do get into the action, we do have a big bunch of teams. I think we got up to 16 teams.
Yep.
16 teams in this tournament. This is a spell break tournament, y'all. 16 teams of 3 players. It's incredible. This community is super showing up. LD, I'm wondering, out of the teams, out of the players, do you see any of the players? Do you have a pick for who you think is going to take the whole thing in terms of teams?
Ooh.
Or any players that you think are going to come through and make a big splash?
That's a tough question. There is a lot of incredible teams on here, just straight off the bat. Super team looking incredible with Kyrie, Arctic, and Newbie. We know Kyrie pops off. We know what Kyrie can do. That's definitely going to be a team to watch. Like I was saying earlier, we've got some returning teams as well. Maybe some people we haven't seen in a little while. The education team with Dark Breakers, Breadman, and Monty's World is definitely going to be a team to look out for. I know Monty is super ruthless with that conduit, and it's not something we see played often in Battle Royale, but when it is played, it beams people to the ground. And again, on that team as well, being a Stone Shaper myself, seeing Dark Breakers there, he is a Stone Shaper to be reckoned with. So definitely a team to watch. I couldn't speak enough about all of the teams. They all look absolutely incredible. Dav, do you have any picks for your favorite teams?
Oh man, favorites are hard to say. There are some really good players here, especially some OG names that I'm seeing surface here. We've got to mention Gigabyte, you know, really strong. We've got Wetfish as well, one of the UMG champions. So he knows how to keep cool in a competitive situation like this. So I've also seen in smaller tournaments too. Hey, I've seen teams that have just started come out and take the dub. So I don't know what we're going to see today. I'm pretty excited to get to the action.
Okay, all right, yeah. So it's kind of up in the air. We're still trying to figure out who's going to come out ahead. I think we have to make a point, and a big shout out, honestly, to Kyrie Caitlin. LD Go touched on it already. Not only is Kyrie Caitlin our very first legendary player of the game, period, but also a Metafy coach and just somebody that made this all happen. So it sounds like we finally got some action. We're jumping on into it to see exactly what's going to happen. And here we go, ladies and gentlemen, the first feet on the ground. And it looks like, oh, my boy, Coach PK on the Frostborn, a personal favorite class of mine. I love to see Frostborns come in and do their thing in a lobby where, honestly, I don't think it's a highly contested class in these lobbies. But when you see one that knows what they're doing, it's art. It's definitely art. So we'll see how this plays out as Coach PK comes through and picks up some nice little loot, and they will be able to escort Coach PK to that first little bit of upgrades. And here we go. The action's starting off.
Indeed. Always like seeing a Frostborn, especially with the Tox Gauntlet offhand. Very common combo. But Coach goes straight down. Was that to a Conduit, I believe? Allows him to grab another boon though, which might be helpful for his next fight.
Man,
yeah,
it's exciting to
definitely.
see some of these familiar faces back on the battlefield here in the Hollowlands.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's going to be really interesting to see. Like I said, Coach PK is one of those players that really finds a way to make the tool work. Whatever tool he has in his arsenal, he knows how to make it work, and he'll find the occasion for it to come out and be used. And Coach PK definitely, like LD said, is going to be able to rock the Frost Lance. And the offhand of that Toxic Gauntlet is really going to allow him to close the gap if anybody gets low. If he pinks somebody with a big snipe, takes a big chunk of damage, he's going to be able to close the gap and just completely delete them with that toxic slap. Big numbers from that gauntlet. And even if it's not a direct hit with that slap, a lot of the spray onto players, you can get them down as they try to hover away or try to just get to a safe spot. And right now, Coach PK looking pretty strong as he does dodge a little bit of lightning coming through. Definitely going to be trying to use some of this landscape and those trees to get nice and safe. But I think the onslaught is a little bit too much at the front door. And yeah, that's going to be Karate Mom coming through with a little bit of that DF action that will take Coach PK down for the count. That's going to be a couple of kills or a couple of exiles for the other team there. As we do look up at the scoreboard, it's going to be 11 versus 16 in favor of red.
100%. I'm looking at the build that Coach is running today as well. The Runic Inspired build, a very popular build for any class at all, really. Just adds that extra mobility and movement, as well as getting that damage increase from the Inspired. Very smart choice, like I say, for any class. So hopefully you can get the scrolls up for that and start using it to its full advantage.
Absolutely, yeah. Just focusing on those two talents alone will be a game changer for a Frostborn.
Absolutely. And you definitely see a little bit of a focus on trying to get this loot. There's a little bit of, kind of invading each other's camp a little bit. But for the most part, there's a lot of focus on trying to get those upgrades. All these players know very well that once you get those upgrades all the way activated, that's when your build really comes alive and you can really start to kind of make the most out of what you set up with your talents. And that's a really important depth of this game that, like, at first you see the high flying action, you see the cool aiming, you see the cool mobility, and you're like, yes, I'm sold. But then you find out there's also a depth of building your character the way you want to play it, and then making a choice to play it that way. And if you go through and get your talents upgraded, you can really show people what you meant when you built this class, basically, or this talent build. So it's going to be really interesting to see going in. And I don't think we had a chance yet, but that is going to be UB on the other team. It's going to be Gigabyte, Shaco, and Copyrighted versus our boy Coach PK and his team, and that team will be called Autobots Assemble. AJ ready. Big shout out to AJ coming through with our edits on our big hype video, you guys. Coach PK and Shadow Mustang, a long time player of Spellbreak, one of the top toxicologists to ever touch the game, and a good friend of mine. So let's see what's going to happen, man. Both of them going into it.
Yeah, super exciting stuff. I do have to make a comment. Anybody that knows myself personally, we see Coach PK running the Blind Faith outfit. One of my favorites. Huge flex there from the outfit standpoint. Super cool looking. But yeah, we did see Coach earlier as well get into quite a tight situation, but managed to pull it out on what I believe was 2 HP. So it's quite a clutch 1v1 that happened earlier, although he is getting jumped on by someone now, using the Tundra quite well to keep himself invincible from that boulder.
The Tundra is going to be one of the most important things as a Frostborn. If you know how to use it, it's a defensive and aggressive thing. You can slow your opponent down. You can freeze them in place. And the interesting thing about Tundra versus Flash Freeze is Tundra will actually block all incoming damage versus Flash Freeze has a few projectiles that will get through and still damage you. You'll notice if you're Flash Freezing and you're not a Frostborn, and the Toxic Gauntlet will spray right through them and they actually turn into like a little shards of toxic glass or toxic ice. So definitely really smart to use that Tundra because a lot of players don't expect it to block everything. So it's definitely one of the things that you're going to be looking for in terms of like top tier Frostborn play. And Coach PK is going to be able to come through with that Blind Faith, the rarest outfit in the game. And definitely a huge flex. I love to see it. Coach is one of the few Blind Faiths still left. And, that passion shows for sure.
Looks like Coach is getting some good support from the team for sure. They're playing together. They're playing really well. We're only at 30 points, so lots of time to go.
For sure. And we didn't get into the exact, I do want to break down a little bit more. You guys might be curious as to why there are controlled points as a TDM. Just want to let y'all know that at the beginning of the match, both teams are instructed to capture their 1 point before the 14-minute, 20-second time. That way they can both start getting points over time, and it just makes the match go a little bit quicker. And it's just the preferred way of the tournament. And I think it's going to end up, giving us the best outcome for these players to come really and show exactly what they have to offer here.
Well, to touch on that too, that creates another dynamic where you cannot fight on that empty point. You've got to kind of position yourself around it. Don't stay on it too long, and that can be a battle in its own.
That's a
Yeah,
very
for
dangerous
sure.
place to be, for sure. The circle, if y'all don't know, if any teams capture that third point, accidentally or not, it will be an instant loss. So really, really great point from Davon. You can play over there. You can even potentially start to get a little bit of presence on the circle, but as long as you don't capture it, you should be good. But if you capture, that will be an instant loss. So definitely something important to know. But as these players move around, and this is a pretty close match, 48-51, and they are neck and neck moving toward the end. Wow.
That's it. Although oh, excuse me. Although Autobots have been on the losing side for most of the game, like you say to me, it has been by a very, very small margin between 2 and kind of 4 points between it, which is really, really exciting to see. You can see these teams are on very equal levels of fighting. You can see in the top right corner with Coach as well, the comms are just going off between the team, which is what you love to see. This is how some of the best and biggest players come out. So super exciting stuff. Do you see Coach on that point? You see they're using the dodge to make sure that he's staying on and off of it. As Timmy says, that is the last thing you want to be capturing in these games.
Yeah,
Very good.
Absolutely.
Go ahead, Davon. Do your thing.
No, I was just, it's such an interesting thing if you haven't played TDMs. I know my first one, I capped the point right away and caused us to restart the game.
Oh, yeah.
It can mess with your head.
And that's honestly, we've talked about it over and over. It's a true testament to how passionate this community is. We don't have a custom mode that necessarily has all of the tools that we would like, but we're willing to go out of the game, create rule sets, create an understanding amongst the players, amongst the community, and then come in and implement it in a way that allows us to play Spellbreak in the way that we really, really enjoy. And honestly, the cool thing about this tournament for you all, if you're a Spellbreak fan, if you've played Spellbreak in the past, if you've watched competitive Spellbreak in the past, you may not have seen it played like this because Team Deathmatch is kind of a newer way to play the game, and it really allows these players to play for a long time. They get warmed up, they get excited, they start getting super aggressive, they start hitting crack shots, and it really just shows you some of the best Spellbreak that you can find in the game. And man, speaking of in the game, 62-64, Coach coming down, landing frost lances left and right, can't secure a kill yet, but has been able to support his team with quite a bit of damage. Very, very, very close here, but just slightly behind Red and Gigabyte's team for the majority of this match. Let's see if they can bring it back to the end, maybe.
Yeah, I saw Gigabyte rocking his classic Tempest Conduit. So, he's here to win today.
Yeah, he's got his old class on him ready to go. One thing that I like about what Coach is doing at the moment is his positioning. He's using the moon point as a good way to watch both points on where the enemies and his teammates are going to be, so he can dip to wherever he needs to go to help out his teammates or help secure an exile. Especially with the alacrity that you get with the Frostborn class, it allows for a lot of maneuverability and a lot of kind of map traversal to make sure that he can be there for his team. Though we do see him a bit low health. Oh, taking out Karate Mum in one shot. Absolutely incredible. So low HP, using that log to defend himself. Very good play there. And then we go to the recall.
Yes, evening it up, ladies and gentlemen, up to 70. They are tied neck and neck as the points go up with that timer on that point. And also, you see a very, very, very important thing that I personally do not ever do when I play these types of games. If you're low and you have the boons, recall. Coach PK not only came through with a huge snipe there over the top of the landscape, right in the tip of the forehead on that dude and send him back to the lobby or back to the shop, but he also recalled and got out without trading there. So that's a positive kill for the team. And you can see him getting excited. Those comms are definitely coming out. Coach PK coming through. And I see a fire in his eyes that the opposing team better be aware of, because I see the energy start to flow. And this is really nice. And LD Gold made such a good point, and I'm getting excited. I'm sorry, you guys made such a good point. This is spell break. I get excited. It's
sure.
not just about, the composition of your team. It's not just about playing your class well in this match at this level. It's also about positioning and your role within your team. If you're the sniper, which is what we're getting from this perspective most of the part, you really want to be in that position where you can capitalize on that snipe the most. So you see him landing on the outside. You see him landing on the elevated structures. You see him putting himself in places where he can help on the outside looking in and tag these enemies for his teammates, but he's not really putting himself right there in the middle of all the chaos. And he knows his role and he knows his position. I think it's super important in these
Well,
lobbies.
that's the beautiful thing about his build here is Frost and Toxic go, well together. They go so well together. He's got distance. If he needs it, he can, maintain damage from a distance and stay out of a fight. But if someone gets too close to him, he's got that Toxic there to remind him to stay away.
Yep.
Exactly, it's an age-old combination. The sniper shotgun combo. You love to see it, and them tox slaps can hurt as well. If you manage to hit all of them pellets on someone, you're looking 50-60 damage sometimes, and that can be a big decider in a fight. But Coach PK, again, as Timmy was saying, just incredible positioning, using his Frost Lance to its full advantage, making sure the Alacrity is taking him where he needs to go. Huge comms with his teammates. It's really great to see Mustang playing as well. I know he's a very, very good player there, a long-time player as well. So great to see him back on the team with just a great bunch of people. Coach PK using the spring step very efficiently there to get out and over the enemy. Managed to get behind that rock there. You see the snipes just constantly coming out. It's incredible stuff to watch.
Woo, nice one up in the air. Yes, and a really great use of that spring step. Going to be one of the shortest cooldown in the entire game. So definitely going to be able to give you that movement that you need to get in and out of situations. But definitely, yeah, as we jump around and we see a couple of different perspectives, you see Mustang, you see AJ Ready on Coach PK's team on that front line. Shadow Mustang, one of the players that's been around for a long time, I think even since beta or maybe even alpha, rocking the toxicologist. And the interesting thing about the way that Mustang plays is his toxicologist is so strong that he can go in and play that front line and be up in your face and just make and punish you for anything that you are not prepared for. But at the same time, he has that Frost Lance. He's got that popsicle, I like to say. He's got it in his pocket. If you get away from him, if you get too far away, he's going to tag you. He's going to get you. And in that combination with what we see Coach playing, it's pretty much the exact same thing, just the opposite class. So they have, with Shadow, they have a front line and a back line. He can kind of switch in between those roles. He's going to be a nice little float player, whereas AJ is going to be that front line. Coach PK is going to be that more defined back line. And this kind of structure, this kind of composition is really going to do well in these lobbies for sure. But right now, they're struggling just a little bit, 98 to 102, as Coach PK drops out a few shots. Not going to be able to land any yet, but it looks like the Alacrity is going to lead the red carpet right into the action. And let's see what happens as he skates into it.
Yeah, man. So many good players. The variables are just unknown today. You've got such a good team setup, as you pointed out. You got a front line, middle, and a back here. And then on the other team, you've got equally just strong players that know this game. Oh,
whoa, there it is.
And that wraps our very first round of our very first tournament for Spellbreak Gaming. Wow. What, like literally neck and neck the entire
the whole
time.
match.
Oh my gosh. At one point, Coach's team came back up a little bit, was able to get that even, and I saw the fire in his eyes. I saw that he was ready to capitalize on it, but the Autobots it fell just a little bit short. It's going to be hard to keep up with that team. Gigglebite is one of those players that he not only knows his particular gauntlet, his particular class extremely well and knows what it can do, but he knows the game. He knows how to capitalize on things. He knows how to make plays whenever that opportunity arises. And you see that happening there over and over. Really strong team, really great performance from both of them. It's going to be Autobots that does it lose out just a little bit at the end, but UB coming in with a great performance there. Really, really strong performance.
Fantastic, man.
Super
I'm excited after that game.
Yeah,
that was the first
for
game?
sure.
Ooh.
I know, just the first. Crazy stuff.
All right. So we're going to be jumping to the next game very, very soon, you guys. And this time we'll be able to see Gigabytes. I call him Gigabyte. It's okay. I can call him that. You guys call him Gigabyte. Okay. No, but we're going to be jumping into the opposite team's perspective this time, get to see exactly what they're doing, exactly how they achieve that dub, and what's different with their composition. I believe, if we saw right, Gigabyte was playing Conduit. So he had that Wind Gauntlet offhand. He had that conduit, which is going to be one of the best in terms of like the class kit, one of the best classes in the game with the amount of mana that it helps you save, the extra charges on everything. And those two gauntlets in conjunction, while honestly I don't see those together a lot, they're going to be really strong and really hard to get away from. So we'll see if it continues to rain down on the opponents moving forward. But really interesting choices.
I felt the same way because I've tried to make Conduit and Tempest work, and it just didn't have the power. But in the hands of Gigabytes, it works, and it doesn't just work; it works well.
Oh,
yeah, and that's something really interesting. I think we're going to see throughout the tournament as well, because we have, of course, a class lock as well. So we're going to have to see at least 3 different classes from every single team, which is going to bring in some really interesting combos. And like Timmy said in the last game, especially with the positioning and roles of each player, they can be more defined by the different classes, which can give a great variety to gameplay for every single team, and it maybe put some people in a new situation and some new fights they may not have seen before.
100%. It kind of makes you think of the classes in a more defined role and in the composition and what that role is. And is it a good, like, do I need a frontline tanky stone shaper, or do I just need a stealthy in your face toxicologist? Do I need a frost lance in the back to get those big chunk damages, or do I want a conduit to kind of just poke people down over and over? There's a lot of options, and you have to consider those options and which one will be the best fit for your composition. And it really kind of digs out roles in Spellbreak a little bit more. But before moving on into the next match and talking about this one a little bit more, I do have a couple other things I want to touch on. I do want to ask to get Eldegold's perspective a little bit more on Shaco and Copyrighted, because they are EU players and I'm not as familiar with them. And before we jump to that, I do want to say I want to get my my guess on who might take it all, because I didn't get a chance to before we jumped into the match. All right. There's a lot of great teams. I love all y'all. You guys know I love all you players. You come through all the time and show me that you're insane. But I cannot, in good conscience, not mention Cracked Knights. Okay, you guys? There's a lot of names, a lot of new names, a lot of old names, a lot of great players. But 5 Elders, a.k.a. Shogun, Bully, and I Am Dar, really, really, really great players. Shogun's a player or a creator for the community. He might be joining us casting later. But he hosts games a lot, so he's getting that experience. He's pushing himself in that Frostborn class quite a bit, and he's getting a lot of different situations that he has to deal with. So that's going to get a lot of experience that a lot of other players don't get. And then also Bully, like I said, I host stacked solos and stacked lobbies a lot. Bully comes through and consistently outperforms players that have been playing since alpha, players that are just now starting to pop off. In my opinion, Bully is one of the best Tempests out there playing the game right now. So it's going to be really, really, really interesting to see those players come through, and I want to see that team, Cracked Knights, see what they come through. But that's I keep your eyes on them. But yeah, I want to get that out there, and I would love to know a little bit more about those 2 players from EU if you have any insights.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've played with Copyrighted a lot, and Copyrighted was someone to me as being part of the EU community for quite a long time. Kind of came out of nowhere and just popped off. Absolutely crazy player. The same as Shaco. I haven't seen as much gameplay from Shaco, but from back in the Element days, I know he was doing absolutely crazy. Especially on that team with Gigabyte. Him and Gigabyte just have incredible communication, and they work incredibly well together. Like you say, Shaco being EU and Gigabyte being NA East, you'd think maybe it wouldn't gel as well, but they are absolutely cracked out together. Copyrighted being a Tempest as well. Like you said earlier, we're seeing a lot of that Tempest gameplay at the moment. It's high movement. It allows for a lot of plays. It allows for vantage points, perspective just on the game. Yeah, we see a lot of people moving to Tempest, and Copyrighted playing Tempest for all of this time is then coming in and showing people how it's done for sure. Yeah, very, very popular content creator as well. We know Copyright streams. It's always good fun to go and watch his streams. So yeah, if you're looking for some top level Tempest, I can highly recommend Copyrighted.
Nice. Okay, so we got a couple of top level Tempest, so we're going to have some Windy boys going head to head here. So keep a good eye out, you guys. It looks like that's going to be Bully and Copyrighted on the Tempest doing their thing. Going to be really interesting. Going to be really interesting moving through. And before we start jumping into anything else, I do want to remind you guys that this is a sponsored, completely ran community event, but it is a sponsored event. We are very, very thankful for our sponsors. Big shout out to Sector X Gaming that is pretty much allowing us to use all of their setup. They host esports events for virtual reality, and we'll have some more information for you guys later on throughout the event or throughout the Discord if you want to check that out. But also a huge shout out to Metafy coming through with their sponsorship. Without Metafy, we would not be able to do these tournaments and offer the prizes for y'all. Make sure that you are using our promo code to get 15% off of your lessons over on Metafy. That's going to be CSL15. You can use that at checkout and find any of our coaches in Spellbreak right now. We have 3. That's going to be Chaos, Kamsky, and Kyrie Caitlin. So keep a good eye on them. I think Kyrie's in this tournament, so keep a good eye on them. And also Thunder Thigh is actually going to be a Metafy student. So Thunder Thigh's in this tournament as well. Also an incredible player. And this is going to be a good testament to how Metafy can take your game to the next level. So check it out. Thanks again to Metafy. Thanks so much to Sector X Gaming. And Davon, how you feeling, man?